All right, welcome. Welcome to this very important conversation, Going Farther with Literacy panel. Here we want to talk about the Go Farther Literacy Fund from the Mind Trust and where it was inspired. We're going to talk about what inspired the original fund in Oakland, how our son's bakery is using the funds to enhance literacy, and why literacy is so important in our communities. First up, I'd like to bring forward Dr. Charles Cole. He's the founder of Energy Converters in Oakland, California. He's the author of Beyond Grit and Resilience, and he's one fourth of the Eight Black Hands. Tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Man, one, thank you so much for having me. I think you said it, man. I was born in Chicago, but I'm a North Oakland boy, 54th and Gaskill, and I'm just honored to be here, man. You and I, our paths have crossed in a bunch of different ways. So
Yes,
just
sir.
from one brother to another, I'm really proud of you and the things that you're doing and how you rep for us, man. But I'm humbled and just happy to be here, bro. Whatever you need me to talk about, I'm just gonna answer these questions, fam.
I appreciate it, man, and appreciate having you here. Next up, we have Sabrena Suggs. Sabrena Suggs is the founder of Our Son's Bakery. She's operating a family and food-based social enterprise that focuses on education, income, and health. And I'm glad to say that when I was a principal, I was responsible for some of the education of her great young man. Sabrena
Thank
Suggs, tell
you.
us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, nice to meet you guys. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Bree Suggs. I'm the owner of Arson's Bakery. I am a mother of three boys. I have about 7 nephews. Having males in my family and seeing kind of like it has done over time with my brothers, etc., has been the inspiration behind the work that I do. So I really care about community. I really care about building, and I really care about the future. And I see the youth as our future. So our son's bakery exists primarily for that reason.
That's absolutely amazing. We want to start it out with this first question as we just dig right in. How have you seen literacy transform an individual student or group of students? And through that, explain why it's so important an initiative like this needs to exist. We'll start with you, Sabrina.
Oh, okay. As a mother, seeing my boys in general be curious and excited about education prior to getting in school was something that I enjoyed. However, once they got into the school systems, their interest in reading became more about getting it right instead of them being able to really enjoy it. So then they kind of like step back from actually having an interest. And so the work that we do outside of school is getting them engaged in things that just they enjoy, like anime, anything. It seems to me that when they're engaging in something that they enjoy, that literacy is more, it feels less like a task. So for me, when I see them getting that back, finding books that they can see themselves in, finding narratives that they're like, this is like my life, or I know someone like that, I'm able to see how it informs their critical thinking skills and how to approach life differently. So
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Dr. Cole, what about you? How have you seen literacy transform lives?
Look, man, literacy is so dangerous that when we was enslaved, people risked life and limb to learn how to read. You feel me? And so if it's something that's that valuable where they'll kill you for trying to do it, is obviously important. And if you want to talk about where our country is now, just look across any of these cities, look across any of these places, and you'll see who is the lowest at reading on grade level. And people need to really understand literacy isn't just being able to read. It's the ability to read, comprehend, understand, and activate the things that you're reading. And so, I think our liberation is strongly tied to our ability to be able to read, to be literate. And so I think it's one of the most important things we could do. And if we're going to invest money anywhere, this is damn sure one of the places we want to start.
Absolutely. So tell us, and that leads into a little bit of like how this all got started in Oakland. Tell us that story, Dr. Cole.
Yeah, man. So here's the thing. I told you I lived in a bunch of places: Chicago, Kentucky, and then Oakland. My parents struggled with drugs. They struggled with a lot of things, and I lived in shelters. And so, yeah, it's the headphones. That's what it is. It's the Um, but they struggle with a lot of things, and so I just remember like living in those shelters and being like, I don't want to live like this. You know what I'm saying? So, and somehow my parents still made sure I had good grades and I was going to school and showing up, you know, even though I went to like a double digit number of schools, and nobody really asked them how they was doing it or what they needed. And a mini grant or money directly in their hands would have been a significant change. That's one. Two, where I was born at in Chicago, I was born in a western suburb called Maywood, the exact same neighborhood Fred Hampton is from. Actually, my grandmother and great grandmother knew his family, used to babysit him. Emmett Till is from that same community, and his mom. And then when I moved to Oakland, I ended up going to Lafayette Elementary in West Oakland. It's the same school Huey P. Newton went to. So these connections to these Black Panthers. Oh yeah, and the reason I wrote a book is because Elaine Brown from the Black Panthers, who was a friend and a mentor, didn't ask me. She told me I was going to write a book. So I wanted to have something rooted in the spirit of the Black Panthers and then their breakfast program, and where they said, look, kids deserve to be able to eat, and we got to take care of our own people in our own community. Ain't nobody coming to save us. So when I had an opportunity to be able to give some money away or do something good with it, that's what I thought about. I thought about those two things. I thought about the Panthers, and I thought about being homeless and nobody caring about that navigation that needed to happen. And I wanted to know, what could our community do if we entrusted them? I think our best resources are people. So then you got the People's Literacy Fund, which is a play on the People's Breakfast Program. And then organizations like you all saw it and we connected, and the rest is history. So I'm really, really happy and honored to be meeting Miss Suggs and the work that she's doing. And I'm glad that I lived in them shelters, because without that experience, this money probably wouldn't have came across so she can do her son's bakery. So that's the story of how this came to be.
Absolutely. Speaking of that, it makes me think of my mother, who is a mother like Miss Suggs, and I know how hard she goes in the paint for her son. I had plenty of conversations with her about her son's education. And so my mother was the same way. She used to be in the back of schools because she knew schools would get rid of their curriculum and get rid of their books at the end of the year that they didn't use sometimes. And she would be picking those things out of sometimes those garbage cans or dumpsters, and she would bring them home. And thank God for my mother, because she would fill our libraries with some of those books. And so we'd be reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, the Iliad. We'd be reading tons of books that my mom would get from these schools every year and every summer. So I'm just grateful for what she was able to bring to the table. But imagine if she didn't have to do that, and there was an organization willing to take a chance on a Black family that wanted literacy to be a central part of their lives. Why do you personally believe in the power of literacy, Sabrena? Like, why is this so important for you and the children that you serve? So not just your son, but all your son's friends and everybody that you're bringing to the table.
Something that's really powerful to me and powerful to how I see myself and how I've seen Black men see themselves is narratives. Like the narratives that have been painted by other people about us to the world and people's perceptions, like that has a strong impact. And I've seen the way my brothers have had narratives shaped about them and what that has done to their psyche and what that has done, the way they see themselves, the way they show up in the world. And so for me, when I think about literacy, I think about the boys being able to communicate narratives for themselves. So not only being able to read about different experiences, but them being able to then say, here is my narrative, here is my story, here is what I want you to see about me. And I know how to effectively communicate the narrative about me, which is why we also wanted to make sure media was such a huge part of it, because those narratives that sometimes we have no control over and how they shape how people see us, especially Black men, we wanted to be able to give boys the power to see how they can do that themselves, and being able to discover what that looks like from other people's perspective, and kind of get an idea of why do they want to shape a narrative a certain way, what type of impact that has, and how can we then use that power to shape narratives that we want to shape, has been super important to me as far as literacy is concerned.
Man, that's super impactful. That's something that I think about all the time. I was speaking to a local lawyer recently, and he said one of the things that he loved about law school was it taught him to look at other people's perspectives, but he could only do that through the type of analytical reading that they taught in law school, right? And so when I think of what you just said, we're definitely trying to get our children those skills through literacy. What about you, Dr. Cole? How has literacy been instrumentally important in your life and what you do?
Well, my whole thing is agency, bro. And when I say agency, man, I'm thinking about the ability to know what I need, know what quality is, and demand it and ask for it. And one of the hardest things that my job is, and Patrick, this may be yours as well. Yeah, Brandy. Yeah, that may be yours as well, is convincing our people that they deserve better. And when I take parents and I show them schools across the country that serve the same type of kids they got, when I take students and show them that there's, hey man, just because you black and you live here don't mean your school gotta look like this and treat you like this. You know, that came from being able to dig into research and connect that and take people places. So you have to be able to help people imagine something different. And literacy is a gateway to that. It's a gateway to starting to think about things in a very, very different way. And like you said, what if this mother here didn't have to go through the things or didn't need this fund to make this kind of stuff happen, but it was just around her and it was just there. And so by the way that she's going to push literacy and kind of get these young boys to find appreciation for it in their own way at this point, you know, they might not have to hustle and struggle in the ways that we do or have to, you know what I mean? So there's not one way that it happens, Patrick. But it opens up an infinite amount of ways for people to do things the way that they need to do it. And I'll shut up because I know I'm long-winded. But Dr. Howard Fuller is a mentor and a friend. He comes on 8 Black Hands all the time. But he says, you know, we fought for a seat at the lunch table, at the lunch counter. And then he said, but now we at the counter and we can't read the damn menu. And I just think that, like, when we talk about that, those are things that we should keep in our minds. And we can also fix this problem. And a lot of people don't know this. And I promise you, I'm gonna shut up after this one. I need to.
Go for it.
But if you read Education of Blacks in the South, the only reason that most of the people in this country get to experience a free education is because of the free Black people, the free slaves that put their money together with these Black churches and some philanthropists to make sure that everybody could read. That's why we have it. We helped build this thing. And I'll be damned if we be the biggest group that get denied it.
Man, well said. I'm 100% with you on that. One of the things that really enticed us at the Mind Trust to invest in something like this is because we understand that the school structure alone cannot solve our literacy woes. It can't solve our education problems. Now, most of our resources go towards making schools better places to serve kids academically. But we have to be able to understand that there is a robust system that our children are experiencing when they get to school. And this literacy fund is a way for us to make sure that that system is being impacted in the right way. How are children getting access to books? How are adults being integral and parents being integral in the literacy growth of their students? And so with that being said, Sabrena, I want you to talk about how Our Sons Bakery specifically will use the funds to make sure that the children that you influence and that you work with and that you help to grow will grow in their literacy skills.
Absolutely. We were very, very grateful, really actually surprised, but very humbled by the whole idea. Our Sons Bakery has been in function for about a year, and the whole aspect of it was for us to be able to create create a funding source for us to do programming in our community. Like, that was the whole aspect. The boys are able to make money, are able to contribute, are able to learn some skills, and then we use the profit to then sow back and pour back into them. So us being able to have this to help our education component was super important. I like for the boys to be able to have 2 to 3 books on hand. Any boy that comes through our bakery, even any youth that are even in the building. We bake out of Broadway United Methodist Church on 29th and Park. And there's youth there all the time. And we want to be able to say, hey, there's some amazing books that we're reading. And what I see mainly when the boys are in the company of each other, they talk about things that they're interested in and excited about. So I may be able to tell a boy, hey, I think you should read this book, but it just hits differently when it's, oh, my cousin told me that he loves and enjoys this book. Here's this book. Do you like that book? I can go get that book for you. Or, hey, here's this whole series of books that the boys have been reading and that they recommended to me. So they don't have to worry about, hey, I don't know if my mom can access that, or I don't know if I can go to the library and access that. It's like, hey, here's on hand. We'll make sure we'll get it for you. So it gives them the ability to not only like share what they enjoy and kind of like word of mouth, like kind of create like popcorn interest in reading, but it is also able to we're also able to use the funds to then say, hey, I'm actually interested in Source Magazine. This may not necessarily be my thing. I may not be interested in this book, but reading is reading and communication is communication. So being able to access Source Magazine, or I'm not able to get this subscription for Vibe, or there's an old school Kendrick Lamar that's not even in print anymore, being able to access what they're interested in. So I'm very, very grateful that we're able to use these funds in such a diverse array of ways. Even when it comes to plays and stuff like that, we are showing the boys' roots and going through Alex Haley and documentaries and stuff. And this fund allows us to be able to do that, and we don't have to take the money out of our pockets to do it. So it opens up a lot of doors for us.
That's absolutely beautiful. And when you were talking, one of the things that came to my mind was something that Charles talks about all the time, and that's agency. And I want to add in there another thing that he talks about, self-determination, which in the Nguzo Saba is known as Kujichagulia. And so the thing that I really want to explore here with both of you, and maybe Sabrena, since you're already speaking, is why is redistributing the power to families in this instance super important, instead of distributing it to, say, a school or a community partner?
Well, as a mother, an interesting story. Like, I understood that I'm my child's first teacher, and we see what our children are interested in more than anybody else, or we see what they're struggling with. And interesting enough, before my children began school, even when they tested in, they were above the curve. Like, every last one of them, they're 4 years apart. They've been in 3 different school systems. And it was interesting to see for me that by the time they were in the 3rd grade, they had gone down, like even at some good schools, like that they're like, oh, they're still above level, but I see that gap have began to increase. So for me, it was interesting to see that although I do advocate and support of, systems educating children in the most amazing way, I saw that my education for them was most important. What they were able to learn and obtain outside of school was most important. So being able to give that agency and that power to parents. Oh, outside of school, you're able to learn about different things that you don't learn in school, like Fred Hampton being something that my kids learn about in history class is not going to happen. So not in the way that they need to build that, not in the way they need to build that sense of awareness about who they are and how the world sees them. So for me, being able to empower them in the way that shaping that narrative and giving them a different perspective of what that narrative is, I don't feel like I would be able to do that in a school setting. So it empowers me and empowers them to see things and be able to access information differently in a way that's amazing to me.
You muted, brother.
I said I'm gonna have to send my kids to Our Son's Bakery to get some of that good. Dr. Cole, talk to us about why this is important in terms of agency and self-determination.
Well, she said the key word, which was power. And let's just talk about power, man. Listen, y'all, power don't cede itself. It don't just hand itself over. Powerful people don't just stay in power by giving it away, or at least that's just not what they try to do, right? You got to somewhat take power. Now let's just look at the systems. The sister said, and I love this mom, man. Miss Suggs, just thank you for everything you do. And I just really want you to get your flowers. I really do. And I'm just going to honor you every time I speak. But from what she's talking about, man, let's look at the system, right? These systems don't love us. And I don't know how many hundreds of years it's going to have to take for us to be like, yeah, if every time somebody is the lowest, it's the black folks is the lowest, something ain't right about that. Like, let's look at like a refrigerator, right? Like you got a refrigerator. Miss Suggs got a refrigerator in her house. She got a brand new baby. And she keep putting milk in that refrigerator, but the refrigerator don't work. And she keeps giving that baby that damn milk. And then everybody wondering why the baby's sick. They blaming the mama. They blaming everything else. But everybody else got super freezers and all kind of stuff. And they ain't even drinking milk no more. At some point, you got to throw out that fridge and figure something else out. And I don't know how often somebody got to tell you they don't love you. They got to tell you that they don't value you. They got to tell you they don't value your kids. I don't know how much does a school system have to be tied into a prison system that is a straight path for our babies before we start to take it over and do things ourselves. And oh yeah, when you decide to do something different, like choose a different school or go homeschool or charter or whatever the case is, now you the devil and you the enemy. They want you to love a system that ain't never loved you. People are not intended to love systems. Systems are supposed to serve its people. And so when we talking about agency and self-determination, it is the understanding of that. And when you know that, you can separate your feelings from a system. The system don't need me to like it, and I don't need to like the system for it to work and do its damn job. But I'm responsible for that baby. Suggs is responsible for her child, regardless of what the system does or how it feels. So you better damn well get you some agency and some self-determination, or less we're going to be having a news story about why or how or what failed your child. That's why it's important, Patrick, because this stuff is not set up for us.
I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And when I hear you talk, one of the things I've been talking to my family and my kids about is sustainable self-determination. You want that Coochie Chagalia, but you want it forever. I don't ever want to give it away. I'm going to determine myself. I'm going to tell people who I am and decide who I am. And you're never going to be able to take that from me.
Oh, we can have that talk. That's a good talk, brother. We can have that talk.
We got to be able to do that. So I appreciate you, Dr. Cole. Appreciate you, Sabrena. Always have appreciated you as a mom. So if I haven't told you before, let me tell you. Listen. Last question here. And this is something that we always talk about at the Mind Trust, and I'm sure other entities speak about this as well. What stops organizations from investing in programs that emphasize true parent power? Go ahead.
For whatever reason, there seems to be an idea of incapability of parents. Like that is like if you don't have a bachelor's degree, if you don't come from a certain background, that you're incompetent. And whenever there's an issue with the child, and I've done health education in communities for quite some time, the first thing people go to is, oh, something's wrong with the parent. Something's wrong with the parent. Patrick Jones, you know me personally as a parent, there's been several times where at different schools, like, oh, my son's behavior is a problem. What are you doing at home? Instead of me having to educate them about the cultural dynamic of how we raise and function our children in our household, and me just even having the background or having the ability to communicate that and kind of advocate for myself and then for my child, it was kind of like a thing where I felt like parents can be used as scapegoats. And then because of that, also it disempowers the trust for whatever reason in parents. And then parents begin to not trust themselves to educate their children or to even stand up for what they believe is true about their children, because you're taught to believe, hey, the expert, whether that be the doctor, whether that be the teacher, they know your child best. They've been taught, they've been programmed, they've been educated in a way where so they know what's best for your child. So whatever they say about your child is true. Instead of you saying, oh no, there's a different perspective here. I've experienced something different. You don't know the whole concept, even knowing the cognitive impact that certain neighborhoods have on children. I know that some teachers don't even know what trauma does to the brain of a child and how that impacts their learning, how that impacts, how they function in their behavior and what behavior is expected of them in a classroom. So for me, I believe that some organizations, it's ignorance, educated ignorance, and the mistrust for parents that to some extent creates kind of like a little bit of a hubris, where instead of partnering and beginning to understanding, it's like, hey, I don't want to be the blame, so let me find the blame, and the blame is you. So for me, I think that may be a perspective, and I may be wrong, but I'm just speaking from experience of what I've seen, and I believe that's what I've seen and experienced at times.
Patrick, can you reiterate? Can you ask it for me again? I just want to make sure I hit it.
Yeah. What stops organizations from investing in programs that emphasize this type of parent power?
Oh, I mean, there's a few different reasons, man. When you talk about what parent power is, I mean, listen, man, philanthropy is powerful. And I know we talking on a philanthropic like platform, you know what I mean? But again, go read Education of Blacks in the South, right? Like, but folks that control money tend to control, the direction in which certain things go. And a lot of people, a lot of organizations, if you put in a lot of money in something, you want a certain type of result. And that don't always allow for things to be created and kind of move forward in a certain way. It's kind of like, well, we need X to happen, so we're going to pay for Y. So you just need to understand what's happening, and there needs to be some clear communication, man. But two, I think a lot of times people don't really think that parents know what's best for their kids. I think that there's a lot of time that we don't trust our people with our, with what we've produced. And it can kind of come across as hubris. And, but again, money is power. And there's other things that's power that we have to utilize, like community and making sure. I mean, I'm listening to this mom talk. She reminded me of so many of the moms in Oakland. And Miss Jamoke is in this thing. Y'all should know her if you don't, but she's yelling at me now because I'm not supposed to be talking, but it's okay. I'm gonna be okay. I did the treatments. But I think she'd agree with me. There's this parent named Talani in Oakland that's just Miss Suggs reminds me exactly of. And it's just like goes hard. Like, they wanted a tennis program, and black schools don't have tennis programs. And this woman went out and found tennis nets and built a tennis team. You know what I'm saying? Like, she just made it happen. How you gonna tell somebody like that will run through a brick wall and become a mama bear for them babies that they don't have no idea what they're doing, and we don't want to support them, or we want to like mask it in a certain type of way? If you're gonna build the legacy, if you're going to build the infrastructure of somebody, you got to trust them to do what they feel is right with those things. And then when that person gets enough power to move on, if it's not a good fit, then move on. But you have to this is why we started the People's Literacy Fund. I don't care what your project is, because I don't have the answers. I didn't go in saying that you got to do this, this, and this around literacy. I don't know what the hell you have to do because we haven't solved it. So give me as many ideas as I can have where there's not a lot of pressure on Mama Suggs or Talani or any of these people, and they can do what they need to do. If it fails, it fails. White boys get to fail every day, all the time. All the time. You know how much of a privilege it is to be able to fail? Do you know how valuable failing is? I fail every day. Every single day. And if I'm not failing, I'm not trying. I'm not taking risk. Don't our babies deserve for us to fail forward for them over and over and constantly? You can't tell me that when you got brilliance like a 50 Cent or a Jay-Z that doesn't have access to a bunch of this stuff but became moguls. Did nobody tell 50 Cent how to go make TV shows? Now he got as many shows as Shonda Rhimes on TV. Like, or Shondaland. You know what I mean? Like, the point that I'm making is that stop saying that you believe in parents and that you believe in communities and start actually believing in them, standing with them and being with them when they fail. Push them to fail. Say, fail. It's okay. I got you. And I'm going to be there with you, and we're going to learn from it, because I can't wait for the Oakland people. I've done a few of these videos, Patrick. We haven't put them out yet because I'm trying to stack them, but I'm going to send them all to you. And I'm going to send all these to our people in Oakland, because what happens if Miss Suggs talks to somebody in Oakland around what they're doing and they can come together and do something? Now you got friends across the country and you ain't alone. See, that's the thing, man. They make you think you crazy. Like, maybe I don't know what's best for my kid. Maybe this. Am I doing this wrong? Did I not go to the right classes? Do I not talk smart enough? Am I not pretty enough? Am I not white enough or whatever? But then you get around some people that's hustling like you are, and now y'all getting it out the mud together. And guess what? They get afraid that you don't need them. That, like, look at TikTok, right? Let's just look at TikTok. That ain't no black platform, right? But it's black people that's been running that platform. And as soon as the black people went away, them white kids didn't know what to do. They didn't have nothing to take and nothing to steal. Stop telling me that I'm not valuable. Stop telling me that I don't have worth and that I'm not smart enough, but you can't move a damn stick across the pond when I leave the space. Treat me right while I'm in the space, invest in me, and then get out the way, and I'll bring you with me. Trust me, we are trusting people. Y'all got to stop being afraid of these people, of these black parents and these brown parents. If we were half of what people feared that we were, it would have been a war, baby. We ain't about that. We just trying to save these kids and do it on our own and not have to need you. I want to work with you. I don't want to need you. Let me need myself.
Something you said there really resonated, man, and that was we're afraid. And this I would say we, because as a society, we're afraid that if these parents are successful, they may not need us. And here's the beauty of this statement. Isn't that what we're here for in the first place?
I mean, we can have that conversation, brother. That's a conversation.
Isn't that what we're here for? I was a math teacher, 10 years taught math, 4 years as a principal, 2 years as director of schools. And I'm going to tell you, I've never met a parent, not once, private school, traditional public, and charter school, not once that didn't want their child to learn and be successful.
Period.
Damn. Patrick, can I just ask Miss Suggs, how many kids you got?
I have 3 boys.
So how much money you think those boys is worth to this system?
What is it, like 15,000 a year, like 45,000 a year?
That ain't even scratching the surface. Christopher Stewart of A Black Hands, my colleague, my friend, he has this saying, and it's his, but it's so fire. And he got to write this book. He said, black kids are the new cotton. And broken black kids are one of the most valuable assets that this country has. You can build schools off of them. You can build jails off of them. You know what you like your baby is more valuable than you even know. And we got to do things to dilute that and make you think that they're not valuable. The same way we diluted the value of homes in Oakland. Now listen, Oakland, California, y'all, it's 70 degrees all year. And somehow we had these beautiful Victorian houses that they convinced us to sell them for $150,000, $200,000 that are all now $1 million homes, and the black people are gone. That is the way that this thing's work. We don't change stuff. We just remix it. So they may have gentrified your neighborhood, and now they're trying to gentrify your kid. They're trying to make you think that that kid ain't valuable and that they don't have value, so they can continue to make money off your child. If all the black parents in the United States said, you know what, for 1 week, we're not sending none of our kids to school, we gonna have a strike. Do you understand how much of a blow that would be to public education? Because we still have a huge amount of the lion's share. I know it's more Latino kids now, but that would be a big blow. And if they came together. So Patrick, you asked a good question. No, people always want you to depend on them, Patrick. They always want you to depend on them. Now we can work together and we can all know what we're going into this doing. But when we talk about so literacy is the first step. Okay. Like if you know who you are, if you can read your history, if you can talk about where I come from. I came from the neighborhood of I went to the same school as Huey P. Newton. Like Fred Hampton Jr. is now my friend. Like his parents were watched by my great grandmother. Like I went through most of my life not even knowing that. Like I went through my life not knowing that who Mansa Musa was, or knowing like what people of my hue did, or knowing that black people helped settle this whole Chicago, Indiana area. There's a book called The Bone and the Sinew that has pieces of my family in it, and probably some of yours in it. You know what I'm saying? Like we are so valuable. If you can't read, if we not teaching in the schools, if we build dog whistles around CRT and don't want to talk about real history, if we politicize everything when all we want is the truth, so you can't see your brilliance and your value, then you need to start asking a second set of questions. But you're going to get this $5,000 to start off whatever you're trying to do in your neighborhood, and maybe that's enough to spark it. You said sustained agency, Patrick. I think that's really smart. I wear this agency shirt. I got this cup. I'm a gritty kid though, right? I'm a kid that's going to get it out the mud, even to my detriment. but I'm raising agentic kids. I'm raising kids that know how to take care of their stuff, that know their wealth, that know their value. I think Miss Suggs probably comes from a similar place that I do, that's willing to do whatever. And even if that means causing harm to herself or whatever, and that shouldn't be the case, but sometimes it is. People are willing to fight and die over their babies so their babies don't have to fight and die so they can live an agentic in life just with some dignity, man. This fund is about dignity. It's about seeing somebody's humanity. And guess what? And it's cheap. I gave away $100,000 in Oakland with Educate 78. Y'all gave away 30. That's a drop. That's a drop in the bucket to the things that we give away. I sit on the hospital board, man, that oversees $4 billion in hospital expenses across a network. You see what I'm saying? So this is why the literacy stuff is so important. And this is why I'm so glad y'all doing this Go Farther with Literacy piece. I know I overtalked your thing, Patrick, but you asked me here, brother. We're going to tell the truth. We're going to tell the truth, right? We're going to tell the truth. Okay. Hopefully y'all work with me again after this. But I didn't get on this thing to tell no lies, man. The truth is so simple. It's so simple. And every time you make some headway, they try to make it more complicated. There's a lot of things in life that's complicated. This is not one of them. Teach babies who they are, teach people where they come from, tell the truth about history, and make sure they got access to it. And if they don't like your product, let them leave. And that's it.
Simple as that. Listen, a lot of things that you talked about also hit me with Know Your Price by Andre Perry. When you said people need to know their worth, knowing what they're doing and valuing Black lives and property. Check out that book for y'all who are listening.
Know Your Price?
Know Your Price by Andre Perry. He works for the Brookings Institute. I think he's a fellow over there. But it's an amazing book. Man, so much to think about there, Dr. Cole. And listen, you are always welcome. Anybody who's willing to tell the truth is always welcome here. I want to invite y'all to give some final thoughts about the importance of this fund. And before we do that, know that this fund is moving to $50,000 in this year. And we are releasing the fund this fall. And so applications will be open in October. I want to make sure I got
And I will make you this promise that I will come. If you need me to, I will come to Indy. I'll come wherever y'all are and help out in any way that I can. Scratchy voice or not, man. This voice is coming back. I'll be okay. Jamoke, I'm drinking the tea. It's okay. I'll be fine. But any way I can help, and any other city that wants to do this, that wants to look at Oakland and wants to look at Indy, this ain't about like lion's share. This ain't about like market share. This ain't, you know what I'm saying? I want as many people to take this idea and start investing in our own people. I want to see it in Kentucky. I want to see it in Tennessee. I want to see it in Dallas, in New York. So, I'm all right. Go ahead, brother. No, I'm excited.
I'm with you. And hopefully we need to follow up about that one intro too. I need to check up on that.
I got you.
Suggs, take us home. What you got to end us with?
I just really want to tell you guys how important this is for us. I was raised by a grandmother who was 30 years old when she came to Indianapolis. She picked cotton for the first 30 years of her life. So did my grandfather. They came here with third grade education. They didn't know how to read. My grandfather spent time when I was in elementary school, when I was in kindergarten, learned how to read just like I did. And first generation off the plantation was me and my brothers, my cousins. There's not a single male in my family that's in my generation who has not been incarcerated, who has not experienced incarceration, who has not, and in their personal stories, their personal narratives, that it started from when they were in school. It started from them having a disconnect with what they were reading, disconnected with what they were learning, and that somebody didn't believe in them. Someone told them something different. So what you guys are doing is so amazingly powerful, and the power of literacy to take us further and to ultimately give us the power to find our own solutions in our communities, and being able to create an environment that we want to see, where we don't feel like we have to be connected to people who want us to be dependent on them, or who want to feel like they have to be empowered by us being disempowered. This is the beginning of that. So I really appreciate just even being in the company of you guys. I really appreciate this even being an idea that you guys brought into fruition. Our Son's Bakery, and every single boy, every single person that's connected to us we definitely look forward to seeing how this grows. We look forward to seeing as many youth as possible impacted to the infinite degree with this. And we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Thank you, Mr. Jones, for the opportunity and for making this a reality for us.
Dr. Cole, last words.
Yeah, I'm just gonna talk directly to Miss Suggs, man. And I just want to just thank you for what you're doing. And I'm gonna just tell you this. When we started the People's Literacy Fund, I know what I wanted it to be. I didn't know what I was doing. You don't have to have every single answer. It's okay to not know. Your spirit is in the right place. The people will appear, you know what I'm saying, when you take those steps, and we should be supporting you. And to anybody else out there, you are more ready than you think. I just want to honor you as a mom. I want to honor you as somebody who is a mother of 3 boys, 3 Black boys. I too, most of the men in my family have been to jail. I'm one of the first in my family to go to college, let alone be a doctor or whatever that means, right? And these stories, without knowing you, I know you, and that's sad, because it just shows you how much and how well and how thorough this system is and how it works. And without even knowing Patrick's personal business, I know it's somebody in his family somewhere that's in a jail cell. I know I can guess that with a really nice accuracy. I know it's somebody in our families that's suffering from drugs, except the things that we suffer from tend to get demonized a little bit more than what other people get demonized. This is not by accident. You didn't just end up here. So to this mother, this beautiful mother, this smart mother, you are enough. You keep going. You tell people what you need. You demand it. If people going to either get out the way, they're going to get down, or they're going to lay down, as the great Beanie Siegel would say. You don't hide yourself. You don't hide your voice. You don't let them tell you that you're too loud. Don't let them tell you that you're not using the right words. How the hell are they going to tell you how to talk to your people? That don't even make sense. You keep going. And if you need some more, then ask for some more and demand some more, and make the men in your community stand up and stand next to you too. As Black men, we got to be willing to just, if they need us to speak, then speak. But sometimes just standing there and having your chest out and just being a protector is important, because they come for us, man. And they come for us in different ways. And they don't try to break you down physically as much. They try to break you down mentally and make you feel like you're worth less. You are worth so much, man. You are the most valuable person on this call by far. And I thank you and I honor you. And I hope that I get to meet you one day. Let us know how we can support your organization and what you're doing. And you stand up. You stand up through them tears. Don't hold them back for these people. Don't get them the satisfaction, but we got you. And I mean that. And men and people in that community, if you honor her, you need to show her with your resources, your love, and your hands and feet if necessary. I'm not playing about this, man. You see, this is not about test scores. It's not about all this stuff that people try to make it about or trivialize on Twitter, man. Because the consequences for us is our babies die. We go through real, I curse a lot, but we go through real stuff and we die. She ain't just trying to sell cookies and get you to read a book. She's trying to save lives. And if you're going to trivialize it with some dumbass questions instead of giving her the support that she needs, then get out the way. You know what I'm saying? So I'll give you whatever I got, and I'll help in any way I can. But I wanted to make my last comments to this mom. So thank you so much. If you didn't get your flowers, I hope you got to smell them today.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Same sentiments. As we end, I want to thank you, Dr. Cole, for bringing this idea to our city. I want to thank you for having the courage to do it in Oakland. I want to thank you, Sabrena, for just being an amazing mom, as I've always known you to be. Even when I see you around the city, I can't help but think seeing you on that field trip to IU or Ball State, whichever one it was, and making sure your baby was getting the best experience possible. I want to thank our CEO, Brandon Brown, for having the courage to do something like this that might not be popular, quite frankly, with his board or funders. I want to thank the DEI committee at the Mind Trust, because this was a conversation we had about how can we as a DEI committee in our organization have an impact on the way students learn. I want to thank the people who operated the fund this year: Sarah Marshall, Chelsea Reed, Lauren Lopez, Amber Audrain, and Madeline Poulikitis. And thank for all the people watching out there. And hopefully you find a way to get involved. If you're a mom or dad or community griot, you come in and apply to the fund and make sure that you're empowering our babies so that they have that agency and they have that self-determination. If you're an organization that wants to support a parent in writing their application, hopefully you get in the mix. If you're a school who has access to parents, hopefully you give them the application and make sure your parents apply. We're willing to sit in the lobby of schools with laptops if we have to get parents to apply. So make sure you get out here, you apply to this fund, and you make sure that you get what you need to do what's best for your babies. We believe in all of that. Thank y'all for your time.